Hi, I'm Deb, and I volunteer at the South Michigan Food Bank.
And I'm Kathy, and I volunteer with Deb at the food bank.
Tell me about how you have come to South Michigan Food Bank as a volunteer.
About a year ago, I was just struggling after an incident in my life, and I needed to do something with my spare time. So I actually called Summer and to find out how to become a volunteer here, and she directed me to the volunteer coordinator, and I started right away in July.
My story's a little bit different. I taught for 35 and a half years and retired. And when I retired, I stayed at the elementary school I was in, and I did their library for 15 years, which I really enjoyed. But COVID came, and that took care of that volunteer opportunity. But I had always said to myself, if I ever got a chance to volunteer somewhere else, it would be at the food bank, and that's how I got here.
Tell me about how you've become friends by volunteering at the food bank.
Well, my very first time here, Kathy and I were packing fresh boxes, and we just introduced ourselves, and she asked me if my name was a certain name, and I said, no, that's not me. And she said, well, there's a lady in our neighborhood that looks just like you and walks her dogs. And I said, well, that is me, but this is my name. And I introduced myself and where I lived. Come to find out, she lives 2 doors down from my daughter and her family and my grandchildren. And so every time we were here, we were just chit-chatting and found out what the things that we like to do, like reading. We're both book enthusiasts and huge readers. So she's given me tons of suggestions and books, and it just kind of went from there.
And because we turned out to be neighbors, and in conversation that you have when you're filling boxes and doing things here, discovered that she had worked for Battle Creek Schools also, and that some of the places she had worked were some of where my good friends were. So we had those extra connections, and it was just nice to be able to share about those people. And Battle Creek is a great place that if you know somebody, you'll find out that you know somebody that they know, and so then all of a sudden you're connected. And it's just really a very small community in terms of that. So we've just gotten to be really, and she shared some books with me that I have really enjoyed, and I get to admire her daughter's garden, so that's a good side benefit of volunteering together.
What does it mean to be able to join the movement to end hunger together?
It is so fulfilling to me. I've always wanted to do something for my community, for my world, and I've always felt impressed that I needed to start at home in Battle Creek. And so seeing what the food bank does here and all the diversity of things they do here, to be a small part of that, to know that the box I'm filling or the bag I'm filling is going to feed some hungry little tummy that night or that next day, and that means so much to me, because we live in a world where there's a lot of sadness and a lot of different kind of hunger. So to know that you're feeding someone is very satisfying as a mom and a grandma.
And I think for me, it's a little different take on the same thing that Deb is saying, but it's just knowing that we've got things that are not going to waste, and the food bank has been the receipt on the receiving end of those items, and to see that they're getting out and helping so many people. I get a choice of whether I eat something each day or not. I don't have to worry about food, and so for me that's a privilege. And so to be able to come and help them do what they need to do, that's a real honor. And just knowing that their resources are limited in some ways, that the more we can do to help them, the farther their resources stretch and people are able to take advantage of it. And the other thing that I found is working here, you can share what happens. I had a conversation with a friend. She's going through some health issues. She's going to go to Grace Health, and I said, oh my gosh, make sure when you go, you find out about the food boxes that Grace Health has. So I'm going to be checking with her to see if that's happened, because I know in her life, in her situation, it will make a huge difference in the impact of her health and her lifestyle.
How would you encourage others to join the movement to end hunger?
Oh my gosh, that's an easy one. I have the advantage in the job that I do with a healthcare provider that I our patients when they first come in, and while they're waiting to get back with their provider, conversations always ensue. And so just in talking with the people that I work with or that I run into the community with, I let them know what I'm doing and how fulfilling it is, and again, the diversity of what we do here, and just encourage them to be a part.
In my situation, as part of my teaching career with the public schools, I was able to head up a volunteer mentoring program for students. It ran for 11 years. My job was to find volunteers and then make it possible for volunteers to work with kids. And I always remember those days when volunteers didn't show up for whatever reason, and the kids were so disappointed. So that impacted me, the importance of being committed to what you do. So I think of that when I can't make a spot out here, that something might not get done. So I think to know that whatever time you've got can be well used. There's always something to be done and something that will help the process of what they do get done. Filling the boxes, putting labels on things, working in the clean room. There's so many little pieces to make this whole program work. And you feel a sense of accomplishment because every little bit helps to make the end goal of getting the food out to the people that need it, to make that a reality. And so just to be a small part of that that's a pretty good feeling.
Is there anything else that you would like to say?
I guess I would just encourage anybody that has a couple hours once a week, once a month to come out here. There's such a need and in our community and in our world, and I see around me different signs of where free food is, sponsored by the food bank, and just to know that there's help out to make a difference, not only in our community, but knowing the vast amount of areas that the food bank serves, to know that somebody is going to, having food maybe will give someone hope, and just encourage them to get out and be a part. It is so fulfilling. It is so humbling to be a part of making sure not only that somebody's tummy's getting food, but there's dog food that's donated, and know that those strays and those are getting fed as well. So, yep.
I think it's just important to know you're part of a huge picture. The food bank organization that we have in Battle Creek is so instrumental in helping so many people, and it needs a lot of people to do that, from the companies that donate food to the staff that figures out how all this is done and finds resources for that. And it just takes people to help do it, and you know that everything you do is helping that process happen. And it's a great place. It's a great place to come and volunteer. Your efforts are greatly rewarded, and it's worth it every single time.